Come join Kyle, John and David as they go through what's on the playlist. Find out what's everyone's favourite at Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment. We have a few segments, to be honest. In and out points, no celebs and the gossip. Back in time where we're talking about the big M's coming attractions, what the queue. Quick checks, who'll be laughing? You abundantly. Welcome to Dual Redundancy.
Yes, welcome to Dual Redundancy, the only podcast where you can hear all latest in television and entertainment news with too many hosts with exactly the same opinions. I'm one of those hosts, David Allen, and another one is
John Berwick, and a third one is
Kyle Bridger. I would say that I'm the Targaryen to John's, the Valerian to Dave's High Tower.
I thought you were going to give me King Viserys and just I'd be like
a dead body, a decrepit old man.
Yeah.
How did that guy stay alive for that long?
We're gonna go through it, but man, every week it just was like I was even expecting after his moment in episode 7. I'm like, he's gonna be coming back. He's gonna be back next week, hobbling in. Hey, how's everyone doing? All right, well, here we are. Yes, we're gonna be talking about the finale. Season 1 of House of the Dragon. We also have 3 new trailers to talk about and coming attractions. I'm going to do a real and spectacular. And we also have this first segment. And John, help me out. What is it?
In and out points.
In or the out. In or the out. In, out.
Yes, it is in and out points. Just one this week. And it involves friend of the pod, James Corden. 1 week ago today, Keith McNally, the owner of Balthazar in New York City, slammed Corden for his conduct in his restaurant. Quote, James Corden is a hugely gifted comedian, but a tiny cretin of a man and the most abusive customer to my Balthazar server since the restaurant opened 25 years ago. I don't often 86 a customer. Today, I 86 Corden. It did not make me laugh. And allegedly, these incidents at this restaurant happened twice to different servers, once in June and once in October. And I have these instances. We can run through them and then discuss this ban. In one instance, Corden claimed he found a hair in his food. And only after he finished his main course, he alerted the staff and said, quote, get us another round of drinks this second, and also take care of all of our drinks so far. This way, I won't write any nasty reviews in Yelp or anything like that. The other instance was Corden's wife requested an egg yolk omelet with a side salad. Minutes later, when a bit of the egg white mixed with the egg yolk, it was sent back, and they remade it, only to unfortunately be sent back with home fries. And he yelled at the server, you can't do your job. You can't do your job. Maybe I should go into the kitchen and cook the omelet myself.
Since when do these servers cook the food, huh?
He screwed up. They should have known to bring back the side salad. But Kyle, I know you have a lot to say about this here. James Corden, this ban. Oh, who would have thought?
I mean, wasn't this stuff happening with James Corden like last year? I feel like it's a revolving door with him. He's just...
it's almost like there's many incidents.
Yeah.
You could look up about him and his behavior.
Is anyone surprised by this at all? I mean...
it's just crazy that I think this is like the first one to really like puncture through, and like the internet really took a hold of this finally. This was the straw that broke the camel's back.
I mean, it's not a secret that celebrities are terrible with servers, but I will say that hair in the steak or whatever trick is a common one that I've seen amongst even some family members. So,
but yeah, it was interesting. It's after he finished the food, and then he mentioned the hair.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Get us another round of drinks, but also the other drinks that we had already, those are also included in this free. It's like, wait a minute, that's not how this works.
Yeah.
You might get like a free dessert or something, but like, Okay.
He knows how to negotiate, dude.
I guess so.
You know, this guy's a millionaire. He can know how to negotiate,
Mhm.
his $40 cocktails.
Yeah, well, I will say, by Monday night, after like 24 hours of this craziness on the internet, the owner of the restaurant rescinded his ban on Corden after he called to apologize. But this story doesn't end there. Of course it doesn't. That's why we're talking about it tonight. On Thursday, there was an interview in the New York Times in an attempt to clear his name. He, in this attempt, he almost had a little bit more egg on his face, a little that egg yolk and egg white mixed on his face. Writer Mark Harris actually summed it up pretty well by saying, quote, Corden's response is basically, I didn't do anything wrong. And so what if I did? And I guess I'll have to talk about it. And I'm not going to talk about it. And this is beneath you. And everybody's rude to waiters. And that's a really good summary of this New York Times article. The entire thing, it's like he's repeating how silly it all is, but he also doesn't deny the owner's comments. And it
Yeah.
says, quote, should we not all be a little grown up about this? I promise you, ask around this restaurant. They don't know about this. Maybe 15% of people. I've been here, been walking around New York. Not one person's come up to me. We're dealing in two worlds here. Okay, fine. That may be true, but that doesn't excuse the rude behavior
Yeah,
to
the
those
behavior.
waiters. Just
Yeah.
because no one's really talking about it, the other 85% of the people, according to him, doesn't mean it's still not wrong.
Yeah. I was only a D bag to 15% of these people here,
Yeah. The other
That's
85 think I'm
fine.
just singing in the car. Like it's no big deal.
Yeah. And can we all be grown-ups about this? It's like, yeah, can you be a
Yeah.
grown-up and not cry about your damn food all the time? You big baby. You probably haven't had to get your own food in I don't know how long. It's
Yeah.
just absurd.
Yeah.
It is absurd.
Yeah. It
And all
is
because he's in a terrible movie musical. You know?
multiple terrible
I know.
musicals or whatever. Uh yeah, so the owner saw this article of the restaurant. And all goes back to that, and he's now up the ante on this. He says if Corden apologizes to the two servers he insulted, he'll let him eat for free for the next 10 years. And that he said, quote, I've no wish to kick a man when he's down, especially one who's worth 100 million. But when James Corden said in yesterday's New York Times that he hadn't done anything wrong on any level, was he joking or was he denying being abusive to my servers? Whatever Corden meant, his implication was clear. He didn't do it. So it's just like this weird back and forth of like, wait a minute, you profusely apologized, got the ban rescinded, had this interview, said none of this happened. Now it's like, well, what is it? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean,
It's just-
I just think I think he knows he did this and he doesn't feel bad and he doesn't think he should feel bad about it.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's being brought out, that's the everyone should be adults about this because my consequences of my actions are coming back to hurt me when I really think that everyone else is at my disposal. I mean, if we've heard stories about him at his place of work where he
Yeah.
doesn't respect his fellow coworkers, what makes you think he's going to respect servers in a restaurant? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, you can look up the article about James Corden and the writers and the different WGA contracts that were being brought up. You could also type in James Corden in plane and get that nice little story. It's one of my favorites to really sum up what's going on with that.
Mhm.
So yeah, we'll have to wait and see how this all shakes out if he will be eating for free. I mean, it sounds like he was eating for free before this with all
Yeah.
the free drinks and stuff anyway. So what's the
Yeah.
difference at this point? But all right here. Let's now move into some of these trailers. We got 3 trailers to talk about in our segment Coming Attractions.
Here are some exciting coming attractions.
It was a big week for trailers. We got 2 television shows and 1 movie to talk about. We're going to start off with something dropping on Hulu, and that's Welcome to Chippendales. It's going to drop on November 22nd, and it's based on the book Deadly Dance, The Chippendale Murders. And this miniseries will follow the life and career of the founder of the male dance troupe, who's played here by Kumail Nanjiani. So again, we have all seen the trailer, and that's all we're basing this off of. That's all we know is this 2-minute trailer, what we think the show could be. John, what did you think of the trailer for Welcome to Chippendales?
I had a good laugh at the music, the remix of Any Way You Want It, but it looks interesting. I mean, I think that whole kind of murder mystery thing is in right now. These are the guys who did Pam and Tommy, right? So
yes.
In theory, they did some good work on there. I kind of trust them to tell a story, so I think this has the potential to be pretty good.
Yeah, it's definitely, if you probably enjoyed the craziness of Pam and Tommy, they're going to be the same team here doing this, this another true crime story. Yeah, let's see. I got some pros and cons to go through, but first I want to hear what Kyle thought of the trailer.
Yeah, I mean, with the pedigree behind it, once I saw the Pam and Tommy stuff, I said, hey, this might be good, but it's interesting to see Kumail Nanjiani in this role. I'm interested to see how that's gonna like play out, because I feel like I haven't seen him in a while. And now he's big and buff,
Yeah, I was surprised he wasn't with his Eternals body here, that he wasn't a dancer in the Chippendales show. But
and then you've got some other actors in here that are very established. So
you're gonna mention that's one of my pros, Murray Bartlett.
Yeah,
Murray Bartlett's there.
Yeah. So
White Lotus star, Emmy winner. I'm excited to see him kind of, I guess, in a villain type role-ish.
Yeah. And that's what I was gonna say. In the beginning of this trailer, it made me think, I don't know, that it was going one direction where the show could go, and then it turned into like a murder mystery type thing. Like what happened to him losing this whole thing? I didn't realize that it was like stolen out from underneath him, possibly. So I'm actually interested in the story. They did a good job with the trailer, making me interested.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in the story of it. I felt like at points of like the trailer, because it for a trailer that involves like sexy dancers and murders, I felt it kind of like played it safe editing wise, where it was like, everything was like, oh, look at us, a little startup here, and then halfway through, things are good. Promise me you won't blow it. And then music cuts and the newscast comes in. Murder. And it's like, okay, like it was just very like formulaic in the trailer. So it's like, I'm hoping, we don't fall into those beats. But again, we mentioned with Pam and Tommy creators, I'm sure it's going to have some interesting, maybe, who knows, maybe some voiceover talent for Jason Mantzoukas involved. But
yeah,
I will say for me, Kumail, like, I definitely love his comedic work.
Yeah.
And I'm worried at points, so like what I saw in the trailer, I always have a hard time separating the comedy actor going dramatic. Even like Steve Carell in The Patient at times, anytime his voice gets high or starts yelling, all I think of, for Steve Carell, loud noises,
Yeah.
And so it's like with this, or there's points where he's yelling in the trailer and I'm like, this is an SNL bit? Like I can't, sometimes I have a hard time differentiating it. But again, I'm watching a trailer, a little 10-second clip. I don't know the context of the scene, so I gotta wait.
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that, because I don't have that problem. I think Steve Carell is like really there's been a couple of things where I've been like, oh, that's Brick or somebody, but in like his other roles,
I can always hear it, like just not even just with Brick, but like the Michael Scott, like the yelling. It's just I watch so much of The Office that there's points where it's just like, unless I'm really into the world, that's Michael Scott.
Yeah,
but
I get that.
All right, so it sounds like we're all gonna maybe check out Chippendales when it comes out around Thanksgiving time. So that's something to watch with the family.
I was gonna say that'd be something to say to your family over Thanksgiving. Yeah, I'm gonna watch some Chippendales. Like what?
Yeah, I mean the Hulu, the Disney thing. You got the kids that are hoping to put on what's the Chippendale Rescue Rangers movie that came out. Chip, and it auto fills up. Here you go. Whoops, the wrong one on the Hulu. All right, but now let's move over to Netflix with our other TV series we're going to talk about, and that's The Crown, season 5. That's going to drop on November 9th. And this follows the reign of Queen Elizabeth II. Now we're in the 1990s. And what's interesting with this season, it's going to be the first season to actually air post the deaths of Prince Philip and Queen Elizabeth II. So it'll be interesting to see if any of that works in there. Because like when I was watching this trailer, I feel like they were definitely kind of, in a way, playing into that and all the recent drama. It was just like the royal family is in crisis, and like just it was like, okay, I see what you're doing, Netflix, right now with the timing of this. But I know, Kyle, I think I can't remember if you kept up with it, but I'm pretty sure you're all caught up with The Crown. Are you ready for season 5?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen all the seasons. Could I remember everything that happened? No, but sure. Yeah, I'm all caught up. And I mean, I enjoyed that. It always has great production quality. I think that's what you can always count on with The Crown, and some great performances as well. Some great directing moments. As far as like the story goes, it can be a slog. I'm interested in learning more about the 90s, because this is stuff that I heard about, but not necessarily was in it, because, I was a kid, so I didn't know all the details. Like, I don't know how the paparazzi thing happened with Princess Diana or anything like that. So it'll be interesting to hear those stories. But I will say, I mentioned this to you when I saw the trailer. It's like, I'm pretty sure 2 lines of dialogue that were quoted in the trailer was something very similar to a conversation that Princess Diana was having in season 4. So it's just like, we get it. She's trapped. It's a terrible thing. Are we going to just have like 3 or 4 episodes going back and forth? Like, oh, you can't leave. And she's like, I want to leave.
And I don't know the timing of this, because like when I was looking things up just to get the time period of when this season is, I don't know if this is a light spoiler, I guess, for season 6, but like, I don't know if we're actually going to handle the events of the paparazzi and Diana and everything going on until season 6. That's what at least I saw in a Deadline article. So we might not, it might be a full season of what you were just saying, Kyle, of her feeling trapped there. Watching the beginning of the trailer, at first I'm like, did I click the Game of Thrones trailer? The castle's on fire. There's like this dark, rubble. And I'm like, is this The Crown? Like, right? Did I hit Game of Thrones by accident? But John, now I know you've probably seen a couple of episodes for the podcast. Do you watch The Crown? Are you caught up with it?
No, I don't. But I think if there was a point where I would want to like hop on and start watching things, it would be either here or the next season, just because I think a lot of the interesting and relevant stuff to me is started happening in the 90s. So this would be probably where I would hop in, assuming that I don't really need those previous episodes. I don't know how they structure the show, if I'll be lost without it, but yeah, this would be the start of stuff that starts to interest me is this season.
Yeah, I definitely feel the same way. Like, I remember watching episodes here and there, and the production design, the music, everything is always well done, but I was always having a hard time like getting invested in it. But now that, like, as you guys were saying, it's like, okay, I can recognize the people and the places and the stories a little bit here. It might work. And one thing we should also mention is this is another season where they're going to do the kind of the new folks taking over some of the roles that have been played by other actors, whether it was like Claire Foy or Olivia Colman playing the Queen here. We have Dolores Umbridge from Harry
I was just
Potter
about to say Dolores Umbridge. That's who I can't see in any other character, man.
Yeah. It's Queen Elizabeth. You have Elizabeth Debicki as Princess Diana. I felt like the trailer was very like heavy on her. There were so many like trailer moments of like the same thing of like the classic Diana, like looking down, eyes opening as she's looking up. Like that's like very like specific, I feel like, to her. But what do you think? I mean, again, we haven't seen much, Kyle, but you at least can see what they look like with the makeup and the wigs and all this stuff. What do you think of the new cast taking over some of these roles so far?
I mean, they always do a good job production wise, but like I said, I can't see Dolores Umbridge as anything other than Dolores Umbridge. It's hard for me to get out of that. But I mean, I'm excited to see what they do. As far as going with Princess Diana, how could you not? I mean, the how everyone puts
Yeah.
it is like the world was obsessed with her.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
got to imagine that that's going to be a bulk of whatever's going on. And then you have like the affair and Camilla Parker Bowles and all that stuff still happening. And it'll be interesting. What's gonna take me a moment to get used to was I think Dominic West is playing Prince
Yeah.
Charles, right? And he has such a more like bigger presence
Mm.
than the almost the last guy did. Not that the last guy was bad. In fact, he's probably more in tune with the
Mm.
the king that we know now, you know. But like Dominic West seems like he has a presence to him, and that I don't know is more than that the actual king right now. You know what I'm saying?
No,
So
definitely. Yeah, I'm gonna be interested because like I think I can't remember the original plan of like how far the series was gonna go. I feel like it was supposed to be just to like season 6 or maybe it was season 5, and then oh wait, we got a little bit more story with this. I'm sure Netflix would want to keep it going no matter what. But now that we kind of, you know, in real life know the end of Queen Elizabeth II, it's like, are they gonna at least go up to that point somehow? Are we gonna get Meghan Markle and all the other current day
I
stuff
mean,
going
they
on?
really could, but that seems almost like too
Too real, too
close,
recent. Yeah.
too recent. Because I mean, how do you put that stuff into perspective with
Yeah.
the
Yep.
time and like, is it going to make Harry and
I just
Meghan
feel like now that
upset?
you just like
Like,
have like the story. I mean, the crown is about Queen Elizabeth II, her entire reign, and
yeah,
at the very least there has to be a scene or at
yeah,
least something at the end.
I
Jump
mean,
forward 2022.
if we're just hitting the 90s, they probably have what 3 years before they get up to that point, unless they skip over a lot. No, so maybe by that point things will be a little bit different in the atmosphere, and you know what I mean. Like maybe
That's true.
it won't feel quite as recent.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, one thing Netflix is doing is there's been talks for a while that Netflix should like put a disclaimer on the series. And for the first time, I saw like complaints from like Judi Dench of all people saying calling for a disclaimer that now the trailer descriptions now start off with a disclaimer, and it's a quote, inspired by real events. This fictional dramatization tells the story of Queen Elizabeth II and the political and personal events that shaped her reign. It's like they have to make it clear, yeah, like this is fictional.
Mm,
This is all, just inspired by real events.
yeah.
But yeah, it's just interesting that like finally now, and I don't know if it's just like the timing with everything going on in real life that they want to make it clear, but for the longest time they're like, no, we're not putting a disclaimer on it, and now they're starting to do it. But
But it is interesting just to, I mean,
yeah.
some of the stories that they have in there are history that I didn't even know about. And I just saw recently something that I saw from The Crown. They were like celebrating the anniversary, or not celebrating, they're like memorializing the anniversary of this terrible tragedy. And I didn't even know about it until I saw The Crown. So it's like those things that I'm like, oh, it does give you a little bit more info about those things, you know?
Mm-hmm. All right, let's go to a movie now. This is our last trailer of the night. We're going to talk about Creed 3. It's actually going to drop on 3/3/23, March 3rd next year. It's set 5 years after Creed 2, and after dominating the boxing world, Adonis Creed has been thriving in both his career and family life. However, when a childhood friend and former boxing prodigy Dame Anderson resurfaces after serving a long sentence in prison, he is eager to prove that he deserves his shot in the ring. All right, Creed 3. Kyle, start me off. I think we probably seen Creed 1 or maybe even Creed 2. It was one of those films in theaters
Yeah.
together. I think we remember, at least I definitely remember enjoying Creed 1. I can't remember much about Creed 2. Are you ready for Creed 3?
I asked you, I don't know who was asking for Creed 3. And honestly, I don't remember how Creed 2 left off.
Yeah.
I
Was it Drago? Was it his kid in there? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. But
Dolph Lundgren.
I thought his like wife left him at some point and she wasn't having like any more of his stuff. Did she come back? I don't know.
I'm guessing.
Dude, I don't
But
remember.
2018. I mean, that was like 1800 years ago. Like it's been so
Time
long.
to reboot it with a different
Yeah.
creed. No, no, I love Michael B. Jordan.
But no, yeah.
But I don't know. Like, it could be really cool, like one of those TNT 5 p.m. weekend night movies, where it's like this is like a good film that you want to tune
Yeah.
into, and it's not gonna waste a lot of time, and it's gonna be worth a watch. Or it could be super cheesy and stink. And I'm worried that it could bleed into that just absurd storyline with like a guy coming back from prison that they used to be really good friends, and like I don't know.
It's always tough with these because it's like this is technically like the ninth film in the franchise, and after a certain point, it's like the first one makes sense, it's the son of this person, with the mentor from Balboa. Okay, it works. The second one, okay, we're stretching, believability a little bit, but I'm with it. I'm with it. And by like the third and the fourth and the fifth, it's like, all right, how many times, how many people in his past and their kids of the kids of the kids are going to come and even watching this, like, while there's a lot of changes, for this one, this is actually going to be the first one without Stallone. At least that's what it's being billed as. It's actually the directorial debut for Michael B. Jordan. So that's big, but all the same beats are still there. You got the training montage, him punching a tree, soaking in an ice bath, looking in the mirror, longingly, okay, can I do this? Like everything is there that we've seen so many times before. So like, are we gonna like, and we could be surprised. I'm sure, as you were saying, it could be a good TNT, fun movie to watch, crowd pleaser, but it also could just be like, oh, been there, done that. John, what did you think of the trailer?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the first two. I don't know if I am going to be running out to go see this one, but I'd be interested in giving it a watch. I think probably what would be best is to rewatch the first two to kind of get some more context. I think it's been, 5 or 6 years since the two came out? Probably longer than that.
It was 2018 for Creed 2, and
all right, so 4
Creed
years.
1 was 2015. I mean,
yeah, so it's been a while. So I don't know. It might be something to
presidents
see.
ago.
It might be something to see. It might be something to catch on TV. We'll see. When I see it, I see it. I'm not gonna belabor it.
And what's wild is, I mean, I'm on Wikipedia right now. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. If they mention this in the trailer, it's billed as Creed 3, the final chapter.
I mean,
this is the final one.
Yeah,
supposedly until it makes a lot of money. Jurassic World Dominion. It's the final one. Okay,
the final chapter till we turn the page. Like,
yeah. When you're watching the trailer, it just feels like the ending to something because it's like, where can you go from here? This is the final storyline. What more could we know about his
Creed
life? Who his
5, their son, going to compete against the new mentee of Balboa? Like, how many?
Yeah.
Maybe,
and then we'll get
his kid is, Creed's kid is going to come and be like, no, I got to take you on now.
Yeah. Or the kid of the prison friend.
Yeah.
Meets the kid of Creed.
Yeah.
And they're like,
that could be the next spin-off.
Had beef.
Speaking of him, that's Jonathan Majors, and he's gonna have a crazy year. Whether between he's in the new Ant-Man, I believe, a bunch of different projects he's gonna be in. And even though he's like, I guess, quote unquote, the villain of this, I've been already seeing a lot of people online pretty much saying we're rooting for him. Like just because he's so charismatic. Between this fight, between today, the Ant-Man trailer came out, and everyone's like, sorry, Ant-Man, you had a good run, but I'm going with him. Like, have you seen him? So it's just like, I don't know. It's going to be a tough matchup. I mean, both are very charismatic dudes, but like, Jonathan Majors may have the upper hand here.
I mean, he definitely looks super ripped.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I'll tell you that. But he's great. He was great in Lovecraft Country.
Yeah. It's definitely having a huge career coming up. Definitely for him. But all right. that's it for our trailers. We have to talk about a show that just wrapped up on HBO. In order to talk about it, we have to go back. So, guys, send us back.
We're back, baby.
Gotta get back in time.
House of the Dragon, season 1 finale, The Black Queen. It aired last night, October 23rd. Of course, we're going to talk about the finale, so spoilers are ahead. And also, we're going to really kind of talk about the season as a whole, because we only talked about the premiere so far for House of the Dragon. And based on the parts of the novel Fire and Blood, this series is set about 200 years before the events of Game of Thrones and 172 years before Daenerys Targaryen, the descendant of the royal house. Basically, it's HBO Succession, but with dragons.
Mhm.
That's the best way to sum this up here.
Yeah.
I definitely have some thoughts on the season as a whole, but before I get there, let's start off with John. Let's talk about the season first, and then we'll talk about the finale a little bit better. But what did you think of this first season of this spinoff?
Yeah, it was good, I guess. I mean, I don't think it was bad. I don't think it was really anything crazy. I think for me, it was a little bit easier to follow than the original Game of Thrones, just because there's less stakes, not stakes, less stakeholders, less people to like really think about. That was one of my biggest things, is not reading the books. They always throw out all these names, and I'm like, who are these guys? The Tullys. What? Oh, I don't know. What are they? Are they north, south? Who do they align with? Like, I find that kind of hard to follow. So it feels like there was less of that in here, and it was a bit easier to follow in that regard. I don't think I'm quite a fan of the flash forwards and the cast changes.
We're going to be definitely diving into that.
That was very hard for me to follow until I especially the episodes where it happened. I was like, oh, who's this? And then it's like, wait, but they're them? That a little confusing, but otherwise it wasn't bad. I mean, I still watched it. I watched it. I'm sure we'll get another season and we'll watch that too. So there's worse things to watch on TV, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with you where I was actually really into it in the beginning, and you guys know that I saw the first season of Game of Thrones, the final season of Game of Thrones. I've been trying to ever I just can't get into it. There's so much going on. But with this one, I could follow it. Those first few episodes, okay, it's a simple battle of succession. There's not too many characters. I can follow. I'm in it. I'm into it. And then the time jump started. And then every week we are now recasting characters that have the same name as everybody else. Plus, they're all related. So they all look like everybody else. It's just like, who are all these people? And I got so confused. And so throughout the night, you guys are going to probably have to correct me on names and storylines and stuff. But I think overall, I think like John, I'm into it. I definitely was, I think, higher in the beginning, like with maybe the promise of it. And then those time jumps really kind of just lost me a bit. But now that we're setting up, hopefully, for season 2, and we are where we are now, okay, we're at where we're at. Table is set. Let's eat. But Kyle, give me your thoughts overall with the season. And because it sounds like it's, good, how does this compare to like Game of Thrones season 1 when it first aired? Like, does it have the same level of goodness?
Yeah, I will say I had a tough time getting through I think the first season of Game of Thrones. But once you got past episode 6 in the original Game of Thrones, I was in it big time. So I kind of binged the last 2 episodes in relation to the rest of the season, but yeah, I thought we significantly ramped up like the action more. Early on, it just felt like, all right, we're building this tension. We're building these mechanisms for which I hope battles and bigger things start to happen. And I think they did a good job overall of, world building, getting you in this world, explaining who the stakeholders are, and going from there. And I mean, going off of the time jumps, like what was so crappy for me about the time jumps was I felt connected with some actors more, or I liked the performances of some actors more. And I was like, why couldn't we? Could we have kept that person here? Maybe made them just look older. And then how some people like
The same.
they look exactly the same. I'm like,
Sir
we're
Christian
giving
there or
Damon,
whatever?
we're giving Damon a pass. Damon has been like 30 years old for 50 years.
Yeah.
What are we talking here?
King Viserys is aging like 20 years every minute. His brother's fine. Sir Kristen is exactly the same. There's no age change for him.
Yeah.
Like, but you mentioned the actor changes. I want to see if we're on the same page with one of them. I thought one of the biggest like just drops for me was from Millie Alcock to Emma Darcy as the Princess Rhaenyra. I was really in to the original actress.
Yeah.
And I feel like the replacement was a bit of a downgrade. And I just feel like it's like very lifeless, muted performance for me when, you know, Millie just gave such a like an energetic, like, I don't know, just captivating performance. And that's like one of the main things. I'm like, oh, she's our lead now.
Yeah.
I think the other actress, I'm forgetting her name for the queen. What's her name? Is it Cook? Forgetting. Anyone know of the actress Cook? Olivia Cook. I think that was, I'm good with that not upgrade, but like that change.
Yeah.
But I just think like I'm kind of let down by this change between Millie and Emma.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And I'm fine with the Queen. The Queen felt seamless.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really taken with both those performances. But yeah, I agree with the princess there. I do.
Mm-hmm.
I do agree.
So it's just weird. Like some changed, others completely exactly the same, and they didn't even age him up. Like going back to Sir Christian, it's like he looks exactly the same.
Yeah, he does.
Get any gray hair? Exactly the same look. And it's just funny too, because like I love how he was like ready to like pretty much give up everything to die for sleeping with the princess back in the day. But then throughout some time jump, without explanation, switch sides, hates her children, everything about her. Get rid. Like, it's just like, wait a minute. I would have maybe liked to have seen some of this info that we just are jumping over.
Well, wasn't the main thing was he asked her to go away and she said, no, I can't do that. And so he thinks that she's selfish. And he mentioned that to the Queen.
That was
and
it.
So
That's
he's just like in his own ego.
Yeah. But, one of the things I want to like talk about just overall, and then we'll get to the finale was, there's a lot of talk of obviously like CGI in these big budget shows. And for me, we got to talk about the dragons. I think they're fine in the wider shots, but for me, the close-ups of them riding the dragons, not one of them looks real to me.
Agreed.
Not a single one. It's almost like they're like, it's just like it's because you're almost picturing like them on a horse, like on a horse saddle, but because the dragons are so much bigger than a horse, it's like oversized, so the proportions never look right. I don't know. It's just it takes me out every single time that and there's so much of it, so much riding and so much close-ups. It's just stay wide in these situations, and I'll be fine with that. John, are you with me?
No, I'm with you, and I think the scene between the CGI dragons and the physical people, whether it be just their head, like projection mapped onto a dummy, or them actually riding something, that always looked a bit funky to me. Like they weren't like positionally tracked perfectly onto the dragon. That stuff like that, just boom, my eyes see it instantly. So that kind of took me out of it. But yeah, I agree. The wide shots of the dragons flying around with nobody on them look great. That's probably where a good chunk of the budget's going to at this point, sets and that. So I'm glad they look great, but it's a tough sell when you're have somebody on it.
It's wild how much this show is like green screened and stuff, because like they'll post on Instagram like the next day, like the big scene when the new king is being crowned. Like outside of like the stage that they're on, everything is fake. Every single thing around them is fake. And it's just like, no wonder why it costs so much, and it takes like 800 years to finish something, and it's accidentally something like a coffee cup gets left in because there's so much to take out and fix. But yeah, but I don't know, maybe with these like effects, they're like there's a lot like trying to hide it, because there's been a lot of talk about how dark everything is, or how many scenes are in the how many scenes are in the rain, or like just smoke and just the hiding stuff. And I was able to see a lot of the stuff even on my like so TV, but I do understand, and I could see the complaints of like, I think it was in episode 7, and there's like a scene of our princess in Damon on like the beach, and eagle-eyed viewers figured out that like some of the promo stills that were released were this scene, and those were all during the day.
Yeah,
but then these scenes were now
it clearly looked
Yep.
CGI night.
Yeah.
It to me, when I saw it, I'm like, this is way too much light. This looks like they CGI darkness over
There's
them.
too much detail, and like you can see everything perfectly in focus and all. Yeah, it's weird. It's a little bit weird.
Yeah, and
then
like because like Nope like did this like, but much better.
Yeah,
like they shot day for night in the movie Nope, so you get that quality and to be able to see far away and stuff. But this just did not work at all. Yeah.
And then we had that one scene with Amon, I think, going to find the Vagar or whatever, and that was completely black. I couldn't.
That was hard.
He was like I literally couldn't see. It was just an outline of black, and I'm like, wait, what is happening?
And you always see like the articles with the shorters. Well, we're doing it, in this quality. So because with a movie theater, it's like, okay, it's a certain level of technical specifications here. But for TVs, they're going up millions of different TVs with all different quality, and it's like, well, just make it standard then, like.
Yeah, and HDR and all that complicates things a lot, because like HDR probably looks a lot better, but not everyone's doing HDR stuff, so it really complicates things.
But it's an issue because like HBO Max like had this like stock response ready to go after that episode, and like if everyone was like complaining about it, and it was like the same, like, we appreciate you reaching out about the night scene in House of the Dragon episode 7. It was appearing dark on your screen. Well, the dim lighting of this scene was an intentional creative decision. It's like, oh my god!
All right,
like,
Mr. Nolan, thanks.
Yeah. I'll go watch this on my Game Boy.
Yeah.
I'll see if it's any better. But yeah, actually, in the same episode, actually, this could lead into our finale discussion, because there was a big moment in episode 7 as well at the end here. The Lord of the Tides is the episode, and it was the interpretation from Alicent that the muttering of King Viserys here on his deathbed was about their son Aegon, but it was actually the story of the Aegon the Conqueror's like dream. So there's a little bit of miscommunication here, which will set into everything that we're going to get probably for the rest of the series of who is the rightful heir to the throne here. And before we get to that specific thing, I want to talk about King Viserys and just the old man that he is here.
Yeah.
This was like, each week it was almost comical that you're like, okay, because they kept doing these time jumps, and I'm like, all right, he must have died during this 10-year time jump, and then he comes crawling.
It was like they'd have him like collapse onto the floor and like die, and then they'd have a time jump, and it's like, all right, well, he's dead.
He must be gone.
He's 15 years later, and then he's like strolling down the hallway with a cane, like like Grandpa Joe. All of a sudden, is like, all right, dude.
It reminded me of like in Always Sunny, how Cricket starts off as like this, this normal priest in the beginning of every season. It just gets progressively worse, and it's just like he's a creature by the end of this. And I was so ready that after the episode where he died, I thought he was going to be coming back. I was ready just for him to be like Bones and just being like barking out orders and stuff like that. But it's just funny because like, well, with all this being said, in his health, this guy never wrote a new will, never confirmed any plans. It was like, I'll be here tomorrow, no big deal. I'll be able to figure things out. And I think it's because everyone else, for some reason, maybe they're just lying to him because he was the king, thought he was healthy. There was a line in episode 8 where they're like that like board meeting or whatever that right term is, and like they're starting to insinuate some guys like, maybe it was the queen who did this because he was in good health before that, right before bed. He was. Did you see him? Oh my God, he couldn't even walk. He was in good health. Come on.
The best thing about it was that walk when the doors opened, and it was the longest walk of all time. We're just getting him down the stairs, and then we'll cut to the side of him and give him the Olympic racetrack style walk, but it's in slow motion.
What he should have done,
fantastic. It's like, can somebody give this guy a chair? They're all just staring at him. They didn't even help him.
You mentioned Grandpa Joe. He should have done actually a Willy Wonka. He should have been slow coming in and then all of a sudden done a somersault. I'm here. I'm ready to go. But yeah, so in the end, after all this, we have a new king and queen, King Aegon on the Iron Throne. But then we also have the much less publicized Queen Rhaenyra at Dragonstone. And I got to ask, am I confused with this? This is probably a dumb question. Where is her crown from? Is that Viserys' old crown? Is that a backup? They had this extra lying around, like
the Burger King crown.
Yeah.
I think they had multiple crowns. I think they have the. I don't know. I could be completely wrong, so I'm sure I'll hear about it. But I think the Iron Crown is on Aegon right now, and like the actual crown is on her.
So that's like King Viserys' actual. Because if we can go back to that other photo, the three sides of King Viserys here, we can kind of compare the crown. Like I think that's it. Yeah, that's his crown.
Yeah, so I think the Iron Crown is the one that they wore. They made for like conquering and like for wartime. I think is what he's wearing, and I think she's wearing like the actual like ruling crown. I think. Again, I'm not
interesting.
I'm not a lore historian here, but
let's just talk about the Queen's sons are insane. Both of them are crazy.
Everyone's insane.
Yeah. It's just it's in their blood, really. So she's given terms to concede, and pretty much, say this guy's your rightful king, and it'll all be okay. We'll divvy things up. Everything will be fine. Of course, she's not gonna do that, and she instead sends these sons out alone with no offers, no
stupid
presents, no anything, just to remind all these families of the oath that they said years and years ago. And we get this moment here. It's really gonna definitely set up our next season here of war, when I don't even know the eye patch guy, whatever his name is. I'm losing track of all the kids here.
That guy looks like a straight up Final Fantasy character, man.
Yeah, he does. And well, he's there riding on Godzilla at this point. The dragon is ginormous. It was actually a really cool shot of
that was a really awesome shot.
The other brother, and you see the size difference between the two. And he was just trying to, I don't know, scare him a bit here, and well, ends up killing him, and at least killing his dragon. It's one of those things where it's like, sure, that's a huge ass fall that he's going down, but like we didn't actually see the body. And in these shows, it's like, unless you see the body, but still, either way.
Even when you see the king die 3 times, he still comes back. So
that's true. That's true. But either way, the queen knows about it now. And yeah, this is going to be an act of war. Like that's her son. She's not happy. It's all this like miscommunication and misconception, because the one queen's like, King Viserys on his deathbed said it's my kid is the heir. It's like, no, that's not what he meant. And like same with this, like he didn't mean to do this, but now it looks like he did, and it did happen. So yeah, it's not peacetime anymore. It's war.
I didn't realize the different sizes in the dragons.
Yeah.
Like I thought they were all relatively the same, but it turns out like Vhagar is just a monster.
I'm trying to think. Didn't the smaller one get born to her son, whereas that larger one, the kid took it over when
Yeah.
its mother died. So I mean that bigger dragon could be a lifetime older, or maybe even two, depending on how she came into it. So I'm guessing it's just an
There was
age
some
difference.
dragon recasting that we missed, and it got bigger throughout the season. But yeah. So what we know, at least for season 2 so far, we don't know much. Obviously, season 1 just ended, but we do know from the showrunners that the time jumps, the recastings, they're done. They're telling the story in real time from here on out.
Yeah.
We'll see if that's true. We are now also in the Dance of the Dragons. Season 2 is going to feature more war, more humor. I don't know if how much humor there was in season 1, so I guess any would be some nice, little addition. But production begins in early 2023, so I'm gonna have to guess we're not seeing it at least until early 2024. Maybe spring, but it's gonna be a while, I think, before we get any more of House of the Dragon. But does this excite you guys for season 2 with how season 1 ended?
I could see where they're leaving it off. They kind of set the stage, and now there's a fire, underneath people's feet. So how is it going to play out? So yeah, I mean, I think this is kind of where we were watching Lord of the Rings and saying nothing's going on. Where are they going? It's not building. This, the bonfire is lit. What's going to happen? So
yeah, and I know they said there's no time jumps. I wouldn't mind some flashbacks. Get the original actors that we talked about, Millie and all these people, to just fill in some of the gaps, add some more context to scenes. Why not?
Yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes. I think a little bit more action would be awesome, but I think they set it up nicely, and we're going to see. They're all just crazy people. There's one character that's like a little too on the nose for me. It's like, of course, this guy, the queen's like dirty.
The foot guy.
Yeah,
I'm talking about.
Yeah,
with like the cane. I'm like, this dude. It's too on the nose. He's too. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the casting is too on the spot with that one. It's just not. It doesn't feel real. Feels like a video game character.
I hear you. One last thing I want to bring up, because we didn't get to talk about because it wasn't in the premiere. It's the opening credits. I want to get your thoughts on the opening credits, because they made a choice. It's the same song from Game of Thrones. It's a similar style. Instead of maps, we got this kind of bloody, waterway going on. Thoughts on that, John?
I mean, it was kind of weird having the same music, because that's like, to me, the Game of Thrones theme, not House of the Dragons. I know, like, when it starts, like, the subtitles say epic theme playing, so it's not even like, they're not even saying like the Game of Thrones theme is playing. But so that was a little bit weird. It would have been nice to have had something maybe similar and the same, like, catchy and something that's gonna be as big but not exactly the same. But as far as the like tabletop kind of CGI stuff, I mean, it's cool. That is kind of similar to the Game of Thrones stuff. I like the Game of Thrones one a bit better with all like the mechanisms and all that. This one's kind of just more of like blood flowing around, but
because it wasn't like the Game of Thrones ones like a map, and you kind of learned where things were and stuff. And this is just like
it kind of told the
blood
story
going
where
around,
it was going to happen.
Yeah. But it is an iconic song. But yeah, I wish they kind of like tweaked it a bit, or used like the main like beats of it. Like I remember back in the day, like when Survivor had a new season, like it was the same theme, but they incorporated different instruments to fit like the area, or just updated, with different things. So, could they have done something with that to really, differentiate it, but also keep it in the world of Game of Thrones? But okay, well, that is it for House of the Dragon. Before we go, we got a quick little thing. It's not a quick check. Well, I guess it is, but it's about a reality show. So, Terry Hatcher, what do you have to say?
And by the way, they're real and they're spectacular.
We're talking about The Mole, the Netflix season, Netflix season 1 of The Mole. I talked about the original series from 2001 in a quick check not too long ago, but this one's all new. It was 10 episodes over 3 weeks. The finale just happened on Friday. I'm going to try to keep it spoiler free best I can. I may slip. I'm going to really try to keep it spoiler free for anyone who wants to check out The Mole. It follows 12 players as they work together in challenges to add money to a pot that only one of them will win. However, one player is secretly the mole, someone hired by production to sabotage the missions. And I'll say overall, I loved the entire journey of this season. I thought the casting was great. Greg, MVP, he knew the assignment. He kind of played that swarmy, villainy kind of reality TV character, and that's what I've been missing with recent day new era Survivor. Survivor now has everyone is like an underdog with a story these days. There's not like a rootable villain, like, you know, the ones that you love to hate. And like Greg was that. So the cast was really good. The missions are like really cool. Like it's not like a big brother. Like there's actually like, you know, puzzles and things that you can play along with, and like how you would figure out these escape rooms and stuff like that. And this season also featured one of the biggest jaw-dropping moments in reality TV I've seen in a while. And you could bid on like this exemption card from elimination. But if you're right with a pick on something that happened in the game, the money that you like kind of bid on in this silent auction type thing comes from your prize pot of what you've earned so far. And the prize pot at this point was like $29,000. And like some of the bids from the players were like, yeah, 3,000, 4,000. And again, they don't know what other people are saying. And whoever has the highest, and if they're right, they'll get the exemption, but they lose the money. Then one comes in and they find out it was $25,000. And literally everyone was like, what? And like, please God, don't be right. Who'd you pick? And of course it was like, oh my God, yep, that's going to be correct. And yeah, they got the exemption, but now everyone hates you for losing all that money, and you lost your own money because you know you're not the mole, because you're getting you know that because you're that person, but also you got the exemption card, and now your prize pot of 29,000 is like 4,000. Like all that work from 4 episodes is gone. But anyway, so it was a lot of fun leading up to the finale, and I feel like that's my like con here. I'll end with, I feel like the editors really dropped the ball on this season. It's again, there's 3-week episode batches, and by the end of week 2, we were like 95% sure we knew who the mole was. And by the first of the 2 final episodes, we were like 150% it's this person. There's no chance it's anyone else. And they don't even need to show us the montage of, you know, post show of how they tricked us, because it was so blatantly obvious to us. And this is where I'm like, well, maybe it was just like, oh, the mole was bad at it. But then in the game, the players seemed to like, they were the mole was so underrated and sneaky. I mean, I never thought that. One player even worked side by side with the mole in the final 2 challenges, and they still didn't pick them for the win. It's like the other player who wasn't even with them, not even seeing the mole's behavior, somehow picked the mole over you. And it's just like, and the confessionals that we got with, because every player gets a confessional, even the mole, and it just felt very scripted and stilted, and everyone else felt like actual real players. And it's just wild because in the 2001 version of the mole, it was like almost impossible, at least maybe, you know, for me to figure out like, yeah, who is it? Like, oh, could be that one, could be that one, could be that. This one, yep, it's that person. That's it. And so that's where the one downside, like the journey was so much fun getting there, but it felt like it just left a bad taste where it was like, oh yeah, like the editing, come on guys, like just give us a little more. Maybe there was just nothing to work with, but like if the players couldn't figure it out, then why did the audience figure it out before them? That's the issue. But
yeah,
all right, but it's an interesting show. I think
it sounds interesting.
It's a really cool strategy type show. If you're
my one question is like, are the producers in like the dude's ear the entire time, or
no? I think it's just like, you know, they are told, whether it's before the season or maybe just like the morning of, you know, probably when like other players are getting their confessionals or mic'd up or whatever. It's like, okay, the thing today is going to be this, that, and the other, you know, like this is the challenge, this is what you need to do. And then like, it's up to you to, you know, figure out how to sabotage it. And sometimes you might have to like win a little bit of money just to kind of get the target off of you, or, you know, make you think you're fitting in, or maybe you win a little, but you don't win a lot, or you somehow sabotage. Like if there's a lot of, and there's some players in the show that are like, I want to make it seem like I'm the mole because I know I'm not the mole, and because everyone has to take a quiz at the end of like, oh, who's the mole, and whoever gets the least amount right is kicked off. It's like, well, if I pretend I'm the mole and I know I'm not the mole, they'll think it's me and they'll be eliminated, so I get farther along. So it's like a lot of, but at the same time, it's like, well, you want your money, so at the end, you don't want to make it too suspicious because you want the money. So it's like it's very complicated. But all right,
Sounds interesting.
So that's on the mole. I think right now on Netflix they have the 2 celebrity seasons from back in the day. I'm still waiting for them to put back up season 2 because I got to figure out who that mole is. But this new season, it was in the top 10. So I really hope we get more seasons of the new Netflix mole. But that's it for this week. Next week, we got one HBO show ended. Another one's going to begin on Sunday nights. The White Lotus Season 2, it's back after all those Emmy wins. We're going to be talking about the big premiere episode of The White Lotus. And if you're looking, something to wear when you're listening to this podcast, you could always get some merchandise here. Heromatic is hosting some new shirts in his store here. We might have some other stuff coming in a little bit here, but just to tease you, we got some shirts that you can check out with the Do Redundancy logo. John, how could they find this?
You should be able to check the link in the link tree in the description of the podcast, or if you go to bit.ly/DR merch, all capitals, you should be able to get to it as well.
All right, so check that out and get some gear there. You can find episodes of the podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the blog, doredundancy.com. Of course, live Monday nights on Twitch, twitch.tv/doredundancy, 8 p.m. Eastern. And you can follow us on Twitter and on Instagram at doredundancy. I got to thank both of you guys for joining me tonight, for watching all that House of the Dragon, watching all those trailers. John getting the show up on Apple Podcasts and on YouTube, and of course directing the show tonight. Couldn't do it without you guys.
Sure.
Yeah, man.
But until next time, I'm David Allen.
I'm John Berman.
And I'm Kyle Bridger.
And that's all we got for Do Redundancy. Goodbye, everybody.